Hey guys, what's going on? Ben Bateman here for AfterBuzz TV, talking about episode 9 of season 2 of Cobra Kai. We have a special guest in studio talking Pulpo. We are so excited to break this one down for you guys. It's getting hot in this studio right now.
You're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
And we're back. Woo! Woo. Things are getting wild. There's some romance in this episode. We've got some fighting in this episode. We're setting up there's a setup for a girl fight in this episode.
Yes.
Oh man, this is good. This is good stuff, guys. AfterBuzz TV here talking Cobra Kai Season 2, Episode 9. We've got a special guest in studio, returning, Ms. Mary Mauser. How you doing?
Hello, I'm doing great.
Thank you so much for coming. You opened this episode up with some heat. The training sequence is one of my favorite in the whole entire show. I was getting hyped.
So whenever they approached me about it, they were like, "We want a Rocky 4," I think is what they said.
Yep.
They were like, "We want that," and I was like, "I got you."
Rocky 4 is the best one.
Well, so 3 and 4 both have really good training sequences.
Yeah.
3 is the training sequence on the beach where they're running in slow-mo with the short shorts.
They were talking about snow, I think. Is
4 is the Russia.
or something like that?
Yeah,
Okay.
training in the snow,
All right.
going uphill, and all that.
So that was the. I'm slow on the Rocky. All right, my boyfriend and I have done I think the first 2.
Good moves.
But we're getting there. But yeah, no, this was so fun. Like this whole thing, just all the different pieces of the training sequence, and especially that last one. I still if I'm bored, I'm just boom, 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 boom.
Yeah.
And then the
That's so
kicks,
great.
it was so much fun, that whole experience, and just knowing that when we were filming it. First of all, I wiped myself out a couple times. We had another shot that I don't think they ended up using, that was me running at the bag and doing a sidekick thing, I think it was. And as we were shooting that, it was on the slippery mud, because we film in Georgia and we film in the winter, and there was lots of rain and all this kind of stuff. So I'm running in the Miyagi backyard, slip on the mud, and all this stuff where I'm just feeling this is gonna come out ridiculous. And then when seeing the final product, I was like, hey, I look like I could kick some butt. Hey. And also the song is stuck in my head consistently. That's my girl.
Yeah.
That's my girl. I just keep hearing it. When I'll just be brush my teeth, I'm yeah, that's me.
And you said you never played sports.
No, I avoid
So
sports
this
at all
was
costs.
this was major training.
Absolutely. This was the thing when we started filming the show. We had a month of training before we started. That was our official training. Before that, I was in 2 months. I got myself in 2 months of Muay Thai and kickboxing, because I was I'm gonna need some kind of foundation layer, because I didn't have any training much for last season. I would train specific stunts, and then we'd do those stunts. I didn't have the months of training that the guys had, so I had all that going on. But then once we got there, we had about 2 weeks to kind of prep before we started the season, and those 2 weeks were mostly spent me and Tanner drilling the balance board. We every day we go in, we do the warm-ups, we do the punching and kicking, and then they would divide us off. Jacob and Sholo would go over and do the they're the regular training, punches and kicks and drills and things like that. And then Tanner and I would go off to the side, and we had a circle that was mapped out in tape on the floor, and he and I would just drill over and over again the kata and the balance board stuff. So by the time that a couple weeks later, I was yeah, I nailed that. And then a couple weeks later, they came up to me hey, just episode 9, there's going to be a big training sequence. Just so you have a heads up. And I turned to one of our stunt coordinators, Janelle Kerfman, and I was please help me. And she was don't worry, I got you. We were going to Soul Cycle once a week. I was working out every single day, and we were training as much as we possibly could to prep me for that, because I wanted that to just be so cool and epic, and something that 15-year-old me would sit at home and be hey, I can do karate, because that girl can do karate.
Yeah.
I can do it.
How confident do you feel if you got into a fight that you'd actually be able to defend yourself? Are you confident after training all this?
If somebody stood in exactly the right position and followed my steps and rules, I think I'd do great. I'd be no, I'm left-handed, so I need you to stand right. And then I need you to plant your feet. Okay, and then if you could just, when you block, just softly.
If it's choreographed, you're good.
Yeah, no, exactly. I can actually, I do train with my boyfriend at that gym, when I was, training going into season 2. And with him, I actually feel I could, he's going easy on me, but I feel I could stand my own, in the sense I'm pretty flexible. And I'm confident in my kicks. That's where I feel my strength is. It's my punches that are a little floppy.
So we have this training montage to talk about. There's this big party that's the other big focus of the episode. Of course, Robbie's mom does come back in this episode, and so we want to talk about kind of that and how that's going to change the stakes. And then the last bit of the episode is this whole kind of awkward thing going on between LaRusso and Lawrence at this dinner and how that kind of resolves. And I really like this episode a lot. There was a lot about this episode that really appealed to me. Obviously, your guys' training montage, setting up for something super epic. That was really fun to watch. This party happens. Moon invites you to a party, and you're like, I'm going to do it. I'm rebelling. I'm going to this party. And everybody goes to the party. And you're like, okay, what's going to happen? Because now you really do have two different factions there at different parts of the party. You guys are all like looking at each other and glaring at each other. I don't want to be here with you. So we start out with this interaction between Hawk and Dmitri.
Yes. I think really quick when you said the two warring like sides, if you notice throughout the whole season, Frank, our costume designer, was super specific about this, and I thought it was so cool if you go back and watch, like, almost always if both dojos are in one room, the Cobras are wearing red and the Miyagis are wearing blue. So I thought it was really cool that at the party, if you watch, it's almost like this wall of blue versus this wall of red that are standing against each other. And what I thought was really cool was there are moments where Samantha's wearing both, and because she kind of remains that like middle piece between the two, and so she's wearing like a blue and red top, but with a pink jacket. So it's like, what side does she stand on? Which I thought was kind of cool.
I love that. In this specific episode, do you think Samantha's anger is more so targeted at Tori, or do you think it's kind of become Cobra Kai in general?
I feel like at this point, like, I feel like she still has the mentality maybe of like, you know, she doesn't totally blame all of Cobra Kai, but it's like just that one extra piece that just completely tipped the scales. It's like Tori being added to that. It's like, all right, now I see what this is about. And the fact that Miguel's fallen for that. Like, how could he fall for a girl like that? And like, I feel like that's kind of like tipped the scales in the direction of less neutral and more like, Cobra Kai, but like I can still save Aisha and I can still save Miguel if I try, but like, Cobra Kai.
It's blinding a little bit too.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, so you have this interaction that happens there between Hawk and Dmitri.
So that was awesome.
Yeah, and it's like for a second there, it looks like Hawk is listening. You kind of expect he's going to do something crappy, but I think if Dmitri hadn't started like lecturing him, I don't know that he would have. It's just that Dmitri can't keep his big stupid mouth closed.
Yep.
And so he gets beer poured on him, which obviously like really sets up a crazy thing that's going on here. But at the same time, you get challenged by Tori to do this drinking contest. Have you guys done this before? I never knew this game. Done this before?
I never knew.
I have not. Of course, I only drink soda. No, I'm kidding. But I'm of legal age. But still, no, I had never heard of this before. But apparently, it's a thing.
Wow.
Because since the show came out, somebody mentioned to me, they were like, "Oh, I'm so glad they brought that back."
I've seen it in other movies.
Like, really?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I thought it was so cool, and we actually had a moment that kind of got cut down, but there was supposed to be a moment where, like mid vodka shot, Samantha was supposed to kind of like teeter and like lose her balance, and then there was going to be like a Miyagi's music like moment of like bringing yourself back, and I kind of like they were like, yeah, we don't know if that's going to like work timing wise, but I kind of like squeeze it in there a little bit anyway.
You did.
Yeah, no, you did.
My
You do the
little,
move.
like, yeah.
It happens.
But no, that whole sequence was super fun. We were going to try and do it on wires just for safety reasons, and then they were like, yeah, we can see the wires and wherever they go, so we're just gonna have to like scrap that for the most part. And we ended up, it was just me. I looked down at Tanner, I was like, dude, you know my balance, and he was like, I got you. We're also in heels, like she's in sneakers, I was in like
boots.
little like heeled boots.
Yeah.
I have horrible balance, I'm bad at heels. I had sprained my ankle the day before. Shooting that was hilarious.
Oh my gosh.
You're
But
just
Tanner had my
overcoming.
back.
You're just overcoming all these obstacles with this series.
Yes, yeah.
So you guys have this challenge. It happens, and of course you win because you're Miyagi-Do, and
course.
so you're able to
Naturally.
balance. And
Yes.
One thing I do think is really interesting, and this is just kind of a thought. We talk about what's PC on this show and how this show kind of has this like pushback, but it's weird how, because in real life kids that are underage drink at parties, like we all know that's like a thing that happens, that television is so willing to show that, but they're so much less willing to show like a guy who is racist, say a racist line, because people in life are also racist. Kids drink underage at parties and people are inappropriate.
Yeah.
Both things happen, but for whatever reason, one of them is like, that's
Acceptable.
illegal and it happens, but we can show it. That's inappropriate, we're not willing to show it. Isn't that weird? I just was thinking about that.
No, it's very true. Like, there's a couple times in this where it's not even like in the dark. Like,
No.
this is not a night party. This is a day party. And usually sometimes you have a party like this and it's at night, so you're setting it up of like, oh yeah, it is bad.
Yeah.
When it's daylight, it makes it seem like it's socially acceptable and norm.
Yeah, just an interesting thought. I mean, it happens all the time in like in movies and television. It's not exactly unique. Like teens drink at parties in TV
Obviously.
all the time. But I did think about that, and so you have this interaction. Now you win the battle. She falls off. She's pissed, and there's a split off. She's gonna go clean herself up, but you're wasted, and you end up kissing your ex-boyfriend. As it's happening, we're all kind of looking around. We're like, okay, so when it pulls back, someone's at the window.
In the window.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
what I
yeah.
thought too.
Who's it gonna be? Like, which one of
Yeah.
them is it gonna be?
Uh-huh.
And I think it's better that it's Tori.
Yes.
Because I think if it's Robby there,
That was gonna break my heart. I
Yeah.
didn't want him to be him. So.
I feel like, I mean, I'm Team Sam, I guess. I guess. But I feel like, you know, nothing on, because Peyton's amazing. I thought she did so great with this character. But her character, Tori, I feel takes advantage of Miguel when he's initially trying to get over Samantha. She swoops in and says, you're being a wimp if you can't get over this girl. I'm better. I'm right here. And so I feel like of the two, it would make more sense for Tori to see her because there is less of that like,
Less
oh
of a
my
connection.
god, ow, my stomach, and more of just like, ooh, what's this gonna mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I still, as we were doing it, like Miguel, Sholo and I were like hanging out, we're like joking, you know, and then it comes time for the kiss, and we're, you know, and we get through it, and then afterwards it was almost weirder doing that scene than it was doing it in the first season, where in the first season it meant like, oh, this like wholesome, sweet moment, and in this season it was like, we both feel like we're doing something wrong, like this doesn't quite feel right. Both of us have spent a whole season hanging out with other people, like dating other people on the show. It almost felt like we were real life cheating on someone.
Did you, the episode opened with you seeing the octopus. When you were reading the script and you got to that octopus point, did you know that a kiss would be coming?
I didn't. Well, okay, initially I think the scene was written as Samantha's like rebellion moment, even more than what it is. It was originally written like Samantha like goes to her closet. I guess, I don't know if it was, I think I was supposed to know Tori was going to be there, or maybe not, and maybe that's why we scrapped it, something like that. But Samantha was supposed to go to her closet, find her like only leather jacket, put it on, and like put on blue lipstick, and like go in like looking like a rocker
Sass.
girl.
That's what I thought
like,
was gonna happen, honestly.
right. It was supposed to be like that, like, and then they were like, but this isn't like honest and true to like who Samantha is, and why would she be rebelling this hard if she doesn't even know Tori's going to be there? Why would she be like dressing up for people who she already knows like her? You know, like there's reasons it could happen, but it ended up not happening. And so I feel like in like that whole like in that sequence was just the octopus was kind of thrown in there, and I felt like maybe that was supposed to, I only read it as being a part of what pushes her to like be like, you know what, F them, I'm gonna go and like be cool and like all this kind of stuff. So I didn't see that coming at all. I got to the end of or middle of the episode, whatever, and I was just like, oh my god. I was like, how do I like talk to Sholo about this? Like this is gonna be weird.
well, so the big reveal that then, you know, on the flip side of it, while, you know, Tori sees that, Robby gets kind of thrown under the bus when Aisha is like, well, the Medal of Honor came back, and it's because in a previous episode, Robby had buried it so that they would find it. But at the same time, Robbie's life is getting upended because his mom comes back in the picture.
Right.
Yeah.
And he comes home, and his mom is there, and she's like, look, I'm sorry for Cabo. You know, it was a mistake. I need to go to rehab. And it starts to kind of pull him out of this, like, this sort of fantastical reality he's been living in. You know, it's like he is Ryan Atwood in the OC. He's living in basically the beach house. Like, you know, he's getting this sweet situation, and all of a sudden it's like, come back to reality. Your mom's going to clean up. You're going to have to go, you know, live your life for a little bit
What I thought
here.
also was something that I don't really know if it ended up playing as much as it did, you know, internally for Tanner or whatever. Like, I thought it was interesting, the idea that, like, his agitation would be with Samantha for being so drunk and, like, leaving her when he's just, like, you know, pissed off. Like, why would he leave her if he knows that she's, like, drinking? But at the same time, like, he's dealing with the fact that his mom has a history of drinking and, you know, not wanting to be around that, like, attitude. And I feel like also, like, for Samantha, like, the moment of finding out about Robby, it almost like, and it's like he's not, you know, paying attention, he's not understanding the like struggle that I'm dealing with, and also like now he's lying to me, like all of that kind of leads into this like moment with Miguel that like drunkenly she could forget aspects of all of this, you know, how good of a person Robby is, and maybe just get caught up in the moment of like, you know, anger and frustration, and like fall into something like that it's not just like a cut and dry like Samantha making the decision to like cheat anyway. It's like there's all this other stuff that's gone into that moment before, which yeah.
Well, I was gonna say, so just because I want to make sure we have time to talk about it in the episode. So the other half of the episode is Carmen and Johnny go on this date, and they show up at this Mexican restaurant, and of course, as it would be. LaRusso and the LaRussos are there.
Yes.
And they end up sitting next to each other. And is this going to be a problem? I don't
Best
know. Is it
date
going to be
ever.
a problem? And is my dojo's so awesome?
amazing.
Well, my dojo's so awesome. And I love that Amanda's just like, this is what we're doing, huh?
Yeah.
We're
Yes.
doing this right now.
Are you
Rocked
finished?
this
Are you
episode.
finished
I
comparing
know.
the size of your dojos?
Yeah.
Well, because her line is so good, right? She's like, they have war and karate dojos. Cadillac Margarita. Big glass, please.
Yes.
Yeah.
Big glass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love this scene. And I love this scene on multiple levels. I mentioned in a previous episode that there was like a class warfare element that they really show between Johnny's character and Daniel's character. And it was like not really on display as much in any other scene of the episode or of the season than this. Where even just him mispronouncing Pollo or like him drinking a Coors and him being so judgmental. Like, you kind of hate Daniel. He's such a judgmental
I'll
prick
get the
in some ways.
tacos, no green stuff.
Yeah.
Yes.
I appreciated this moment so much because I knew that we would not get something like this a whole lot. And so I'm just like, I'm just going to take it in.
Yeah.
And it's finally the moment where Daniel kind of does stop being judgmental and for a split second maybe understands where Johnny is coming from. And I just soaked it all in. I appreciated it. I thought it was amazing.
I also thought it was a typical moment that it's the women that bring the two guys together, which is pretty often you
Yep.
see that a lot. But I was fine with it. It was
I
good.
felt like though, the women leaving the situation and like leaving them to their own devices and being like, we're not gonna be the people to clean up this mess.
Yeah.
Like we're gonna go and we're gonna have a great night. Like I'm gonna order my margarita and I'm gonna have a great dinner. And you
Yeah.
guys deal with your war and karate dojos. That's your problem.
Yeah.
So this is a question that I have here. Is one of the things they bonded over was the sour cream of them forgetting the sour cream and messing up.
Not writing it
Was
down.
that on purpose? Did the women tell the waitress to specifically add it? Because they were gone, and so there was like, oh, the sour cream. Oh, I knew she should have written it down. And you see, they cut to a shot of the women looking at each other.
Ooh,
And
I
so
didn't even think of that.
I was like,
Interesting.
did they specifically, when they were gone, talk to the waitress and say, "Can you add sour cream? We'll figure it out." But they just
That's a really interesting idea. I hadn't thought of that. I hadn't thought of
Mm-hmm.
that. But yeah, so they obviously are, it's getting hot and heated. And I've said this before, but I think Billy Zabka's a really good actor. Like
Really good.
Really talented.
You think?
And yeah, I mean, he's great. I just mean like obviously as Johnny Lawrence in The Karate Kid, he gets moments, but he really gets to be fleshed out in this show. You see his moments. And I keep saying it, but this was the episode to me that just felt like, this guy's such a fully fleshed out character. I know this guy. Like I feel like I understand who this character is. He's so not like just like that TV character where you feel like it's kind of predictable, and he has so much depth. And so when he's talking to Daniel and he tells him that Kreese is gone and he wants to change Cobra Kai, like that moment really resonated with me.
Yeah.
He's saying so much to him when he's saying that. He's saying like, look, man, part of him is saying I'm sorry for how I was in high school. Part of him is saying you were a dick to me, I was misunderstood. Part of him is saying I was raised badly. Part of him is saying I understand how bad Kreese was, but he was a father figure. I'm trying to move on from that moment. He's saying so much to him just in that one moment of Kreese is gone and I want to change Cobra Kai. Yeah, that moment really resonated with me.
I as an at-home viewer who didn't get to see the scene take place, I was looking forward to the moment of them like having the like dance battle almost,
Yeah.
and then how it becomes almost like then it just becomes a big like 4-person
Yes.
dance number together, and as we're all teams. So, like that was something I was thinking about. I did not expect to enjoy that like dinner sequence as much as I did, where I was like constantly on the side of like whose team am I on, or are we all on the same team now? Like where do we all stand, and like how cool. And then again, my love for Courtney, who plays Amanda, and her just like sarcastic little like you're being silly.
and shout out to Carmen for the lesson here was focus on what matters.
Yeah.
Because Johnny's like looking very, and it's like
Look
focus
me
on
in
me.
the eyes. Look me
He's
in
like,
the
of
eyes.
course he can
that-
dance. She's
yeah.
like right here.
That
Yeah.
that really is the lesson as you wrap up this episode, is that focus on what matters.
Connect.
Stop worrying about the Miyagi dojo and Daniel and Kreese. Focus on what matters.
So a couple things to cover before we wrap this one up is we have a handshake deal between these two guys at the end. Truce. It's cool. And it's the same one you get when he goes to his house in season 1 and they like share a meal together. So it's nice to
that's
see.
right.
That was great.
Now the flip side piece of this though is the thing we didn't talk about is at the party when Hawk wants to try to get Moon back and he sees that Moon has a new girl.
Yes.
And he's totally taken aback by this, which then ends, of course, with Dmitri giving this whole like "you wet your pants" speech. So, because obviously episode 9, there's so much tension building. We have to
gosh.
ramp up
Yeah.
for this big 10th finale episode. They have to do so much, so everything feels like it has to be heightened. So obviously Dmitri and Hawk has to be heightened, and you have to have their relationship heightened. Of course, they do the handshake, but then they end up back at Johnny's place because Sam is so drunk and Robby wants to protect her. And you see that happen, and you're like, this is not
Not
gonna
gonna
end
end
well.
well.
Did you guys predict it? Because my boyfriend was like, I knew it right away. When I was reading it, I thought it was going to be Carmen coming back to his door. I didn't even realize it was going to be me on the other side of Johnny's door.
I thought
did-
it was going
yeah.
to be Kreese.
Did
for like a
you?
hot second.
I
have,
did too,
I
for
have
some
no reason
reason.
why he would be coming back at that moment, but I was like, oh, Kreese, just to add to the tension.
I thought
Right.
it might have been Kreese. I thought Kreese might have stabbed him or something. I thought like maybe it was gonna like go down that dark road, you know?
I thought it was Robby because I think they just set it up with Robbie's mom coming back and being like, you need to get closer with your father.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And as the season is done, a lot of it is one episode storylines like that where
Yeah.
they'll say something and then it'll immediately happen, just like the Octopus.
Right. So same question I have asked every single episode, same question I've asked every single episode. Who is the character going into the finale episode that you're the most invested in?
I will say Robby. This will probably be the only episode where I probably say Robby, and it's because every single relationship he has is now changing, and I'm very curious to see like where he'll end up.
I was super invested at this point in Hawk
Yeah,
and Dmitri
okay.
and seeing where that was going to go.
Yeah, I see Hawk definitely just being on edge. I think Robby, as I mentioned a couple episodes ago, something can make him snap. And I feel like something's happening.
Yeah.
He switched it up, gone back to his dad. That's a big step.
Yeah.
He's someone who takes big steps.
I go Sam in this one, and the reason I say it is because the kiss that happens at the party and what's kind of unfolding with that, you know there's going to be a confrontation. You know that stuff's going to kind of fly apart, and that's the one that I want to see the most because I know that she has feelings for Miguel. I know that that's really where she wants to go, and we only have one episode left in season 2. I feel like that's the story that I want to see. I'm interested in Miguel, but I'm really, and to some degree, just Carmen and Johnny, but I would say Sam. I want to see what happens there.
I feel like mine might be with Dmitri in this situation because I feel like he takes such a big like anti-Dmitri step of like he's always cowered in the shadows, and then in this moment he's finally like, you know what, forget this, like I'm gonna destroy this Hawk person, and then like kind of what that would mean because at all this point it's almost like they've been unmatched. Like Hawk hasn't really felt the need to totally go after Dmitri because he's always been so superior in his mind in the standing, but now he's almost leveled the playing field and how Hawk will like react to that.
Totally, and of
go.
course, you know, Charlie 40 Hands Stingray.
Oh
with the
my
double
gosh, it was so good. And when he's trying to, my favorite moment of trying to get out of the door, and I'm like, you're of age, you can
fine.
drink, you don't need to run from the cops, and he's like spilling it's so funny.
So good. All right, guys. Last thing to say for you is this is AfterBuzz TV. We provide free content here on AfterBuzz TV. Please give us an iTunes review, a rating, something 5 stars preferably. It helps us stay high in the standings. We have multiple YouTube channels that help us remain the ESPN of TV talk. So subscribe, like, comment. There's a drama channel. There's a red carpets channel. There's a superheroes channel, and you should check it out because we have an after show for just about every single after show on television. Michael, where can the folks find you?
You can find me on Twitter and on Instagram at TheOnlyMC.
And you can find me on Twitter at Tami Goveia and Instagram Tami Goveia Official.
You can find me, Veronica Valencia, on Twitter and Instagram at it's me, Veronica_V.
And I'm gonna be found on Instagram at Miss Mary M. Mauser, and then Twitter at Mary M. Mauser.
You guys can find me at Ben Bateman Media. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll be back soon with the finale.
Our founder, Kevin Undergaro, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.